Hi all, so my name's Andrew Jackson. I'm a zoologist in the School of Natural Sciences. I'm the course advisor for the Zoology Moderatorship degree program. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what we do in zoology, who we are and what we get up to and why it is we do what we do. So zoology is one of the older disciplines in science. Been around a long time. We do a whole load of different stuff. There's about 12 or so academic staff members, professors in zoology, and each and every one of us, although we have some overlaps and interests, actually we find ourselves doing some very, very different things on a day-to-day basis. So here on this opening slide, we've got some pictures of happy students on field courses. Getting outside and out and about is something a lot of us enjoy. Not all of us though. Some of us also like to spend a lot of time in the laboratory. Some of us like to spend a lot of time at computers working on more modeling side of things. But a great many of us like the outdoors and we like getting out and about and thinking about animals in the real world. So what we've also, as a very broad and diverse degree program, it's hard to know where our graduates are going to end up and what it is they're going to do. By way of example, this man here in the very center, this is Professor Bill Campbell. Bill Campbell is pictured there in the top right-hand corner is his Nobel Prize for Medicine. Bill studied zoology many years ago in Trinity College, and Bill went on to develop a new drug called ivermectin. So it's an anti-worming tablet. He did many, many things, but one of the things he did that was amazing was he persuaded his company, the pharmaceutical company he was working for, to give it away for free to the world. So it's given away to humans for free, and it's been a phenomenal success story in basically eradicating a form of blindness that is caused by a parasitic worm in large parts of the world, as well as providing a huge amount of benefits for other types of worm infections as well. So it's really quite hard to know what it is we're going to end up doing. So Bill got into zoology because he loved animals and he loved parasites. He was very inspired to keep working on parasitology. But he's gone into a world now where he basically is discovering new drugs and making a huge societal impact in the world over. And we continue to this day actually to have a very strong parasitology group in our department in zoology. So really, just to say, it's hard to know where you're going to end up. We as biologists end up chopping and changing a lot, especially more these days than ever before. We have, biochemists become zoologists, zoologists become geneticists, botanists will become zoologists, zoologists will become botanists. It's very hard to know what it is that you're going to end up in down the line. And I think the most important thing is we choose degrees that we enjoy. So these are our students happy here on graduation as well. So what we find is many of our zoology students come to us actually because it's as a very broad degree. It can tick a lot of the boxes from the molecular side of things all the way up to physiology, anatomy, and up to the whole functioning organism, where we may traditionally think of zoology being focused. So what I'm going to do is just take you through a little bit the sort of structure of zoology and the zoology degree program. So we can kind of split zoology into two, if we like. We have, I suppose, those of us who are focused more on the comparative anatomy, comparative physiology, and behavior side of things. So we're people in that group are very interested in organisms, how they're built and how they work. So we have people who work on the development of organisms. So how limbs in that top left figure there are showing that rotating skeleton you can see there. That's a developing embryo. You can see there it's been marked how the limbs are developing, how the joints get formed, and that's done in a very comparative sense between humans, rodents, and birds, chickens in particular as well. On the bottom, we've got a lot of biologging that we do, so we're interested here in behavior, but also physiology. So these are some packages that we can deploy on animals in the wild. We do it on terrestrial animals on land. We do it on birds in the air, but we also do a lot of work in the marine environment on large animals and large fish, particularly sharks. So here we've got a hammerhead swimming at a 30-degree angle, and we've got some really good ideas there as to why that is swimming at 30 degrees. We think it is to do with optimizing its lift, but you can see it's really quite cool. You get a huge amount of data there with a video camera attached to the dorsal fin of this animal. As it's moving around, we can see what it's doing, but also we can deploy really quite high-end accelerometer data and packages to get data on what sort of angle it's swimming at, how fast it's swimming, and even indeed we can get temperature data from the water and potentially temperature data from the inside of the organism on which this camera is mounted as well. So these cameras pop back off and they take with them all this data, and we recover that and can analyze that down the line. On this side of things, we're also very interested in that parasitology I was talking to you about earlier, mentioned earlier. We have this Daphnia model species here. This is a little water flea. This is used very successfully as a model species to understand the dynamics of disease transmission. And I suppose under these sort of circumstances right now, the concept of where disease comes from, and zoonotic diseases, these things like COVID originally will have probably more than likely occurred and originated in animals, and it's human-animal interactions then that result in these leaps. And understanding why some parasites, why some infections are very virulent, why some of them make us very sick, why some of them don't, why some of them we tolerate, why some of them we clear. All these sorts of questions are being answered at the moment in zoology using model species like these Daphnia to understand as well, not just the sort of the behaviors and that result in these differences in dynamics of infectious disease, but also looking very closely at the genetics, not just of the host of the Daphnia itself, but also the genetics of and the genetic variation of the parasite too. It's a really quite powerful tool in order to be able to understand that. And that links nicely into the other sort of half of zoology, because a lot of these things on the left here that we're looking at, these comparative anatomy, physiology, and behavior components, we're of course interested in how those sort of manifest in the real world as well. So how these things interact in the real world with things like changing temperatures and global change. This is something we're very interested in, particularly with the temperature of water these fish are swimming in, but also then how temperature is going to affect the infectious disease and the likelihood of transmission of new or novel diseases. And this is something that can be done in the laboratory with those Daphnia. The researchers can quite easily change the temperature that the Daphnia and the parasites are exposed to understand that link between temperature change and how it affects virus pathogen transmissions. But on the more sort of classic conservation, big stuff outdoors side of things, again, there's a lot of interest in Irish conservation of wildlife. There's a lot of work being done quantifying and understanding patterns of biodiversity, including things like badgers, and putting those very similar sort of packages on the shark there, deploying those on the badgers as well. I've put the pangolin there because the pangolin is being at least mooted as an idea or implicated possibly in the origin of the new COVID-19 virus. So that's also really quite telling indictment of poor conservation and poor biodiversity management, is that the pangolin is actually one of the most trafficked of all animals in the world, illegally trafficked. A lot of research as well working on birds, and we're interested particularly here in things like ecology. So how do ecosystems function? How do we conserve, or how do we manage these to protect our biodiversity? What are the sort of services and good things that come from our biodiversity, and how do we manage that into the future in the context of ongoing global change? Okay, let's take a quick look at the Sophister program in zoology then. So the junior Sophister program will look something like this. You'll have to check the handbook to see what's exactly on offer, but what we have here is quite a lot of choice actually in the zoology degree. So we start off with a semester one with some dedicated zoology modules. These would be marine biology, which will kick off with a field course with some in-field training, a large focus on in-field training. Modules then, dedicated zoology modules back to back on animal diversity, part 1 and 2, introducing you to the whole sort of breadth of the animal diversity and the organisms in the world, what makes them what they are. And then we start into some of the more shared broader programs like fundamentals of ecology to give you really good grounding in all the ecology subjects. That will be taken with some of the other moderatorships in our school primarily. And then again in course modules in semester 2, we've got a backbone of things like evolutionary biology, again another dedicated organismal zoology module. And then some core key scheme modules on experimental design and analysis, and then some training on essay writing in the desk study, and again finishing off the core with another dedicated field course in terrestrial field ecology. Again, that's one that's shared with some of the other moderatorships such as botany and environmental sciences. And then get to the open modules where you've got a lot of choice here to pick your flavor, your zoology degree, and sort of follow your own interest. We've got sort of more organismal options in both semesters, such as the developmental biology and parasitology side of things, neurophysiology and immunology and immunometabolism. We've the more ecological ones, such as entomology, perhaps, and then some more of the environmental flavor of things, if that's how you want to shape it, in environmental dynamics and Ice Age Earth. And that will be coupled with your choice of either one or two of the Trinity electives. Senior Sophister programs, your final year, again, huge amount of chance to flavour and change your degree. We've got a core, most of our teaching gets done in semester one, so we've got a core central skills. Data handling analysis, a great one for transferable skills into the future. And you'll couple that with choosing 5 options from these modules that are on offer here. Again, some of them including some field work, some on the ecology side, some on the organismal side, and some on the more environmental side of things. Then semester 2 really is the focus on building towards your flagship capstone research project, which again features a huge amount of choice in terms of the topics and supervisors and groups that you'll find yourself working in. And that's coupled with dedicated module in general zoology, and then another shared module across our school on research comprehension, where you'll get to be exposed to loads of the different invited speakers who are experts in their fields who will come in and give research topics coupled with some tutorials as well to go with it. So really a huge amount of chance for choice and options and following your nose around the subjects that you find interesting yourself. Where do you always want to just go at the end then? That's sort of the big question. Well, about a third stay in the subject area. They'll continue in academia or industry, working maybe doing further degrees, further studies, or working for wildlife conservation groups, or in research laboratories, drug development, etc., much like Bill Campbell did. Another third use their qualifications to teach or work in media or admin in some sort of science-related organisation, and the remaining third go on, approximately third go on to areas outside of science, but often still using their, they might retrain completely. So many people go on and do veterinary or medicine. Other people will use the skills, transferable skills they've picked up in project management, in data analysis, to go and work in economics or any other sort of technology or related field of business. So that's it. I'll just finish with this nice little quote. So this is a quote from Sir Peter Medwar, a Nobel laureate as well in physiology or medicine. He's not one of Trinity, but he did say, and I definitely agree with this, he said, in later years I came to take the view that a person who was really good at zoology would be qualified to turn their hand to most things. And I think that's very true. I think, a degree in something like zoology is so broad, covers many aspects of molecular techniques, modern telemetry, putting packages out on animals, understanding behavior, working with humans, working with disease, working with climate change, that it really does set you up to find your interests, let you develop those interests, and then go on and apply those down the line in whatever career you choose to take. So I'll finish up and just say it's a shame we can't get you into the department to meet some of the people as well and meet each other personally, but I'll leave you with this shameless plug of, this is actually a plug for the field work and getting outside. We miss the outside these days. This is a sunset in Kenya, in Lake Bogoria, where we camp out there. Wonderful place to be, but so too is Glendalough, and so too is Port Ferry in the north of Ireland. So we look forward to welcoming you to zoology at some point in the future. And if you have any questions, you can get in touch with me by email. You can find my contact details in the handbook.